Women who gave nice guys a chance, how did it work out? Turned out to be an awful human being. Was a nice shy guy at first, but upon getting into a serious relationship that was just for the public, behind closed doors, was a very insecure person. He had decent looks but was short and skinny with glasses. I didn't mind and never used that against him, but it affected his confidence and he took it out on everyone else. Even after trying to work on it for months and always reassuring him, he ended up cheating on me several times and then hid behind the nice guy victim thing. Went and told everyone that I was out of his league and just using him as a place to live, and I had been the one cheating, which wasn't true. I moved out and got my own place immediately to proceed I could and cut all ties. Went on and on about what a great, compassionate guy he was. He was actually just your garden variety, abusive psycho. He once said to me, "I wish you had been abused so you would realize how great I am." What the fuck? Who says that? I didn't actually give him a chance. But I was talking to my guy friend, Andrew, in the break room at work one day, and another guy jumps in the conversation with a "Hey man, what's up?" to Andrew. I assumed they must be coworkers. After that he proceeds to stop by my office every night on his way out to make increasingly awkward small talk. I mention that I have a boyfriend, true, but he keeps coming anyway looking for anything to talk about. "Hey," pointing to the cartoon on the box of cereal on my desk, "it looks like we're both into anime." "Nope. I'm just into generic Lucky Charms, dude." I try to be friendly, then he escalates into things like, "Does your boyfriend come take you out to lunch every week?" "No? You deserve someone who treats you better than that." He offers to build me a better desk. I decline and get a "Geez, I'm just trying to do something nice for you." I tell him these conversations are making me uncomfortable and when I'm at work I'm working. He gives me a "Geez, I was just saying hi" on my way out. I close my office door. He keeps coming and knocking. I keep the door closed and wave him off. He gives me flowers for Valentine's Day. I go to my friend Andrew and ask him if he'll tell his coworker to fuck off. Turns out Andrew has only ever talked to him that one time in the break room. We look him up in the company directory and the guy works 2 floors below me, so I'm not on his way out. Eventually I called corporate security and they had a talk with him and his boss and deactivate his badge access to my floor. At first I was sympathetic that he hadn't really made any friends before we dated, starting at the end of our junior years of high school, and believed him when he talked about how people always bullied him wherever he went and no one wanted to make friends with him. He also loved the idea of dating someone who was going to be a counselor because he thought it was an admirable job. Turns out he just wanted someone to be more of a therapist than a partner to him, and he would get upset if I didn't walk on eggshells around him. Later on he also started blaming me for not wanting to have sex with him every day. I was getting frequent urinary tract infections, multiple a month at one point, and was physically unable to, but that was an excuse to him. He considered masturbating almost as reprehensible as cheating on him, so when I wouldn't be in the mood, every day, it would be my fault for masturbating, whether I had or not, and got to a point where I would just agree to get it over with and get him to leave me alone. He had a lot of weird ideas about sex and how it could only be missionary with very little foreplay or aftercare. So sex became this uncomfortable 2-minute daily dissociation that I got through for a while because I thought that's what I had to do for someone to love me. I've since found a partner who values me and takes care of me back when I take care of him, although lately he's been doing much more to support me. He is a gift that I am constantly grateful for. He proposed to me after we worked on a group project. When I turned down this guy I barely knew and definitely never dated, he stalked and harassed me for about half a year until he found his next true love. He was a serial proposer, Ted Mosby, classic schmosby. He went out bowling with his friends and then when he came home he complained to me that for the first time in his life a hot girl had hit on him while he was out, and he was unlucky enough to actually have a girlfriend. He seemed genuinely sad he had to turn her down, and expected me to be grateful he did it. He was always nice to me but very easily jealous anytime another guy spoke to me. We were just friends and only went out once, yet he felt like he needed to make me feel bad whenever other guys gave me a little attention. He also had a horrible drinking problem and serious anger issues, and the whole time he was trying to woo me, he was also hooking up with his ex and ended up getting her pregnant. So yeah, no regrets about that. He sounds very nice. Not well. He was funny and friendly in public, but turned into a different person as soon as we were behind closed doors. He was basically your textbook abuser, manipulative, controlling, and demanding. He wanted to do some really weird and degrading, to me, sex stuff and acted like I was the psycho for not wanting to. He'd make angry comments like, "I'm just trying to be romantic and you keep freaking out." I got out of the relationship before he could hit or rape me, but no question that was what the future held. Oh, and he still insisted that he was the nicest guy I'd ever meet. We dated. He was attentive and not like the other guys. He wasn't my type really, but I had been dating people who genuinely treated me poorly, and I thought it was time I made a more mature decision and dated someone with a job, who respected me, etc. He proposed super fast. I married him. Fast forward, he slowly became the most abusive person I have ever known, demanding that I devolve into his sex slave. He was addicted to porn, weed, video games, and believed he was not like other guys. He was special, according to him. He was more honest, smarter, etc. than anyone in the world, and I didn't appreciate him enough. I became a prisoner in my own home. He controlled all the money and my social life. I was miserable. One day he physically attacked me, basically a coercive/physical rape attempt, and I fled my home in panicked fear. He sent me a manifesto email telling me that unless I can submit 100% to his complete sexual control at all times, I was not to come home to the house we own together. We're divorced now. He keeps trying to get me back. He has changed and misses me. Nice guys, not even once. We met on Tinder and he convinced me he was such a nice guy and he was so misunderstood. The typical sob story. He fatfished me with old photos, tried to convince me that I had autism and we would be an amazing autistic couple. I finished the date, politely making conversation while waiting for my half of the check. At the end, I wouldn't let him walk me to my car. I walked him to the bus stop and waited for the bus to drive off before I left. When I told him later that night that we didn't really have chemistry, he begged for another chance. He told me he was really depressed and had to see me again because I helped him to feel happy. This is 110% emotional blackmail and I fell for it. We met again. I was really uncomfortable the entire time, but he tried to insist that I was the one for him if I would just meet him closer to his place. He kept trying to grab my waist and hands despite me saying no. I was weirded out and eventually said goodnight. He went in for a kiss, but I ducked and walked the long way home. He threatened suicide later that night and showed me his giant scar down his arm from when he had been unsuccessful previously. I freaked out and blocked him. He messaged me on Facebook a week later telling me that he thought we had chemistry and he hadn't friended me yet because he thought it was creepy. So he waited and was messaging me as a final attempt to court me. It was a wild ride. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. We have new videos every day. Here's a meme for you to enjoy. All the guys I have known or dated that felt it necessary to label themselves nice guys turned out to absolutely awful humans. Either they had a bad temper, horrible morals, or just didn't want to take no for answer. One even turned out to be an emotionally abusive alcoholic. The actual nicest guys I've dated or called friends were the ones who didn't feel the need to label themselves nice guy. In fact, the best of them usually warned me and others that they were not all that nice, but always turned out to be the sweetest, most understanding, appreciative, and kind guys I've had the pleasure of knowing. The people who are worried about being not nice are usually the ones most conscious of how they're acting. That is true and a great way to look at it. I always found it kind of ironic. I'm not really all that nice, followed by, are you okay? How are you feeling? Can I do anything to help? Or just dropping everything to come save the day for whatever minor or major tragedy had befallen me or another woman. Some of these were self-proclaimed bad boys, and people still wonder why some of us swoon over that bad boy type. He was fucked up on all levels. He wanted a lot of weird things sexually and also had a double personality, one for the public, one for me. Weird cause he only started showing me his second face after a year of relationship when we moved in together. That was a big mistake. Once I was trapped with him, the abuse started. Oh well, I moved out 10 days ago and I am fine. Some people that seem too nice usually hide something, but some of them are like me. Been through some shit. He seemed a bit shy but goofy, smart and genuinely kind when he approached me, so I agreed to go out and we hit it off at first. Deep, meaningful conversation about our personal challenges. Him quickly meeting my friends and me being the first person he called after a family emergency. We were both pretty vulnerable, but things were seemingly progressing somewhat well. One day he was on Tinder in bed next to me, and when called on it, he said that dating me had made him realize that he needed more confidence and experience with women and thus needed to date a lot more different people, but that he only fucked the others at their houses, so I was obviously his no one. I freaked, cried and broke things off. He called me the next day to casually ask me out to the new Hunger Games movie. I got an STD screening the next week. He harassed me at work for another 6 months. Smile, that's next level nice. Some would even say Hess a great guy. He tried to rape me because I belong to him and only him now. He thought a girlfriend couldn't say no. I ended up putting him in the hospital. I'd like to hear more about this. I was 16. He was the same age. He tried to pin me down in my bed, so I kicked him in the stomach and shoved him off the bed. I started beating him with a baseball bat I kept from my childhood, so it was pretty small. I only broke a few fingers and did some damage to his jaw, as far as I was told from some mutual friends. I never bothered pushing for details. I kicked him out of my house and just never spoke to him again. I should have pressed charges, but I didn't know if I would get in trouble for hitting him with a bat. As far as I know, he never really told anyone what happened and never really made up a story, but I wouldn't really know if he ever did, because I moved out only a month later and eventually stopped talking to everyone there. I was in a relationship with a nice guy for nearly 5 years. Over time, he gradually convinced me to push everyone out of my life, family included. He also started doing sexual stuff to me in my sleep. I'm a deep sleeper. When I found out and told him to stop, he apologized and said he would stop. He didn't. I started hardly ever sleeping, so as to avoid him violating me in my sleep. When I started applying to universities to pursue my master's degree, he told me that I didn't need to keep going to school because he loved me and was going to take care of me forever. He also broke my belongings when we fought, but he was always so kind, romantic, and convincing. All of this was so gradual that it took years to see what a mess our relationship was. After I broke up with him, he continued to send me gifts for about a year and then started sending me emails after I moved across the country. But then he got a new girlfriend about a year ago. Haven't heard from him since. Nice people are nice, but not all nice people are good. Went on a brilliant date. I had the best time. He came back to mine because he said he couldn't get a taxi. I put him on his sofa and he came into my room in the night and tried to have sex with me. I pretended to be asleep, hoping he'd stop. He didn't. He fell asleep with his hands on my boobs and his hard on my back. Then in the morning he left and never spoke to me again. Edit. Thank you for all the messages. Luckily the troll messages were deleted before I saw them, so they have not caused any bother. I did not report to the police, although I am aware it is assault. I was raped a few months prior to this and I fought back and ended up physically hurt, so to me, lying still and shutting off felt the safest response. He was lovely and funny on the date. Just made me build an extra wall to protect myself further, as I clearly have poor judgment on this stuff. Thanks to everyone for fighting back to trolls on my behalf. X. I went on about 2 dates with him. We had a good enough time that I went back to his place. He didn't use a condom despite me explicitly stating that was a requirement, and he had them sitting out. I didn't notice until it was too late. Oh well, I got over it. I noticed that I wasn't quite sure how much of what he said was true and how much were lies. Anyway, we started setting up a third date and just had a super bad feeling. I always listened to them, but I couldn't tell if it was about him or just the date, so I tried to reschedule and told him I didn't feel comfortable, and that's when he went off. I bought groceries for this. Come over here right now. Hashtag I hope you fucking get AIDS and die. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. Can we make this work? I really like you. Get over here now. And on and on and on. Finally it stopped and I realized how much of a bullet I had dodged and how I really wasn't safe in the first place. Then after 2 years of silence he texted me out of the blue and then started going off again. Mostly to my fiance, who texted him asking him to stop or we would go to the police. Then he started making up weirder lies about how he was a federal agent and someone was coming to kill him and then he would rape me. Needless to say, we filed a police report. He had done similar text stalking before, and I filed a restraining order. Everything was through text, but better safe than sorry. That was our nightmare about a year ago. It's over now, but damn, that was rough for a bit.